Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I will not go into too much details on the channel introduction this time round, as you can watch the channel intro video of Uncle Starts Fire at my channel page, and also what is in my fire portfolio at the current moment. Okay, let's get into today's video. Background to the video. If you watched my earlier videos, you might have gone away with the idea that this uncle has a liking to the hospitality REITs. This is because I talked about a couple of hospitality REITs previously, such as Far East Hospitality Trust, and ARA US Hospitality Trust. And yes, you are right. I simply love the hospitality REITs at the current moment, and have been waiting for the recovery of the sector for a while now. There is no better feeling than seeing what you have been longing for finally come true. You might have read of how the hospitality REIT sector has been improving, or how specific hospitality REITs have done well, from various sources. Today, I would like to bring all these into a single video, so you can be updated at once. Tourism update. The number of tourist arrivals in Singapore has been on the rise since the start of 2022. By February 2023, the number of arrivals to Singapore is at 960,000, from almost zero at the start of 2022. Top countries of arrivals are Indonesia, Australia, Malaysia, South Korea and India. Many analysts expect the increases in tourist arrivals will be sustainable going forward, especially with the reopening of China from December 2022. Chinese tourists are expected to keep coming back to Singapore in the second half of 2023, as the flights from China start to become more available, and hence cheaper. This will be very significant because Chinese tourists make up the largest source of visitors in 2019. Before COVID-19, they account for 3.6 million visitors, and spent some $4 billion in 2019. Every time this uncle goes on a staycation with my family, I would see many tourists from China in the hotels such as in Resorts World Sentosa, Marina Bay Sands, and other hotels. So I believe that the Singapore tourism sector will not recover until the Chinese tourists return. After the reopening of China, I am now more convinced that the Singapore tourism will be recovery fully soon. For the supply of hotels in Singapore, there is very limited growth of hotel rooms, with an annual growth of 2.6% until end of 2025. This is very favorable, and can help to further increase the revenue per room over these few years of tourism recovery. Hospitality S-REITs performance in 2022. A compilation by the SGX on the change in distribution per unit, or DPU, by sectors of REITs in Singapore best summarized how good the hospitality sector has performed. The hospitality sector had the highest median increase in DPU for the year 2022, at 31.6%. The next best sector was healthcare, at only 1.6% increase. This means that the hospitality outperformed the next best sector by 30 percentage points. And in comparison, the retail sector was the worst performing sector with a negative 7.8% growth in the median change in DPU for the year 2022. As always, this uncle's videos only talk about shares and REITs in my portfolio, because everything I say is 100% based on my real portfolio. Here, I have compiled the performances for Far East Hospitality Trust, CDL Hospitality Trust, CapitaLand Ascott Trust, and ARA US Hospitality Trust in a nice tables, so it is easy to compare various matrices, such as the revenue per available room, average daily rate, and valuation, firstly based only on the Singapore properties, to have a common base of comparison. and secondly, by the rest of the overseas properties, and finally, a table of the DPU and dividend yields at the REIT level. For the Singapore properties, they account for 100% of the underlying properties for Far East Hospitality Trust, since the REIT is a fully Singapore-based investment. On the other hand, Singapore consists of 66.3% of CDL Hospitality Trust's portfolio valuation, and 17.1% of CapitaLand Ascott Trust's portfolio valuation. Obviously, ARA US Hospitality Trust has no Singapore properties. With the reopening of tourism across different countries by the middle of 2022, the number of tourist arrivals in Singapore really shot up. Along with that, we can see that the revenue per available room and the average room rate both increased, up to 100% from the year before in 2021. CDL Hospitality Trust and CapitaLand Ascott Trust almost doubled their revenue per available room. Far East Hospitality Trust had a lower increase on a year-on-year basis. Thinking through, the reasons are as follows. Firstly, I think a number of hotels were still being on mass contract booking by the government for quarantine early on. And secondly, I think hotels under Far East Hospitality Trust were generally of lower end compared to CDL Hospitality Trust. For instance, the average room rate for Far East Hospitality Trust in 2022 was about $125, while that for CDL Hospitality Trust was as high as $220. By comparison, I think there is a limit to the extent of the increase of the room rates for lower-end hotel room may not be as high. For the overseas properties, the sore thumb sticking out is the negative revenue per available room for New Zealand under CDL Hospitality Trust, which the REIT manager attributed it to labor constraints limiting maximum occupancy levels, traditionally low winter demand, and gradual international flight capacity restoration. Luckily for investors, New Zealand, which accounts for 7.1% of the REIT, was the outlier. That is something different from the overall positive trends. All other markets were positive in 2022. CDL Hospitality Trust's UK properties had a slow start to the year due to the outbreak of the Omicron variant, but overall revenue per available room went up by 70%, which is already amazing. Its Germany properties improved by over 200%, due to the recovery of travel in Europe, and strong corporate travel and events. For CapitaLand Ascott Trust, its largest markets all did very well, with revenue per available room increasing from 68% in Japan to 131% in Australia. Many of my friends and colleagues took the earliest possible flight to travel to Japan for their holidays, because frankly, everyone misses Japan's food, shopping and attractions. This uncle also had fond memories of Japan. I never thought that simple food like Japanese curry rice and yoshinoya can taste so much better in Japan than in Singapore. Plus, it's much cheaper. It is no wonder Ascott's Japan properties did well. The more family-oriented people will head out to Australia, leading to the outperformance as well. For ARA US Hospitality Trust, the revenue per available room went up by 34%. Quite credible, but actually underperformed Ascott's US performance of 100% increase. However, ARA US Hospitality Trust's DPU went up by a whopping 760%, much higher than the other three REITs. In any case, all hospitality REITs DPU went up by at least 25%, which is really amazing. The dividend yields range from 4.7% for CDL Hospitality Trust to 8.1% for ARA US Hospitality Trust. Understanding the volatility of the hospitality REITs, it is worthwhile to understand that hospitality REITs tend to be the most volatile among all the REIT sectors. This is because they are unlike the other REITs which have much longer rental contracts. For example, most retail rental contracts in Singapore are about 3 years in length. Hospitality REITs have much shorter rental contracts. Hotels are daily contracts, while serviced residences are relatively short as well, in terms of months. The good thing about this is that during economic recovery, the rents they receive can increase really quickly. This is also very beneficial during the current inflationary times, as hotel REITs can quickly increase their room rates at least in line with inflation, while other REIT sectors have to wait till their rental contracts expire before repricing the rents upwards. However, during economic downturns, there is no stability of long-term rental contracts which will help cushion the REITs with continued rental payments. In fact, the yields of hospitality REITs are the first to drop, since daily contracts for hotels can drop the very next day. Finally, within hospitality REITs, the REITs with rental structure consisting of a greater proportion of variable rent will be more volatile than REITs with rental structure consisting of mostly fixed minimum rent. Understanding these will help investors be aware of why the underlying earnings of the hospitality REITs are either outperforming or underperforming other REIT sectors. Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you find the video which consolidates the performance matrices of the hospitality REITs useful. If you are interested, this uncle can also look to consolidate the performance of other REIT sectors as well. Do let me know using the comments. It is more interesting and fun if there can be some comments once in a while. So if you are interested in building wealth and achieving financial success, please consider subscribing, and continue to look out for my latest videos, so that we can learn from each other in our FIRE journey. Together, we can achieve our financial goals and create the future we want for ourselves and our families.